तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे वक्रतुण्डाय धीमहि तन्नो दन्तिः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ जयन्ते मङ्गलकाली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवदात्री स्वाहा स्वादा नमोस्तुते। ॐ शांति शांति शांति। साईराम लीन, साईराम फ्रॉम मलेशिया। साईराम स्वामी।
Sairam Sharma from New Zealand, and welcome to our listeners. We are today speaking of another of Swami's wonderful miracles, and our topic is Swami's Divine Nurse. Thank you, Bhagwan, for giving us this material that we may spread it far and wide. Om Shri Sai Ram. When I first went to the ashram in 1989, I, perhaps by coincidence, perhaps by divine design, I met an Australian older lady. She was already quite elderly. She dressed always in a white sari, white hair, glasses, quite tiny, frail, very thin, somewhat hunched over. You would not guess that she was one of Swami's top nurses in not only the general hospital, but later to be appointed into the super specialty hospital in 1994. Her name was Joan Davies, and she is no more. But remember, Swami said all those who dwell in Prashanti Nilayam are actually residents of Vaikuntha Loka, the highest realm of where Lord Vishnu abides, where Swami's parents abide, and many other great, great souls. So I learned early not to be fooled by the appearance of some of the exalted souls that I met in his ashram. I became good friends with this lady. For some reason, I was drawn to the doctors and nurses who served Swami from all over the world and got to know several of them very, very well. And Joan was one of these. Now, Joan had been, once upon a time, the wife of a Christian minister in Australia. But when he passed away, she did not retire to be by herself and grieve. She felt, now I am free to do what I want to do. I want to serve in the famines of Somalia as a rescue worker. And she was already a trained nurse, and so she volunteered to go to work with rescue work in Somalia. On one of her furloughs home, she was taking a train through India to get back to Australia, and she happened to be in a compartment where she was facing two Indian gentlemen who were reading books about Sri Sathya Sai Baba. She was intrigued by Swami's photo and asked the gentleman, who is that picture? Who is that gentleman on the cover of your books? I cannot take my eyes off of him. They said, Madam, that is Bhagwan. That is Sri Sathya Sai Baba. Joan said, I must meet him. Where is he? They said, he is presently in Whitefield, near Bangalore. In fact, Madam, that is the next stop that the train is passing through. You may get down here and go inquire the taxi driver to take you to Vrindavan Ashram. There you can find a room outside and then go for darshan. The Sevadals there, the volunteers, will tell you what to do. They are wearing blue scarves. They will inform you how to get to the darshan area. So without hesitation, Joan jumped off of the station at Whitefield and very soon had a room outside and was waiting in Darshan Hall for Swami. When Swami saw her straight away, he came over to her. How are you, madam? I have been waiting for you. long time. I mean, he knew who Joan was from past lives. And Joan said, one look at Swami and she knew he was her divine master, and she would follow him wherever he said to go. And so Swami told her, you go to Prashanti Nilayam. I am going to Prashanti Nilayam. There I have work for you to do. So she did not even go back to Australia. Now this is devotion on a high, high scale. She took a taxi to Prashanti Nilayam. Swami called her in for interview. He gave her an apartment in one of the West buildings and instructed her, now I have work for you in my general hospital. And there she began her divine work. She would take care of the patients who were in the very, very worst situations, who had no family to visit them, or who are suffering from some of the worst illnesses. She would change their bed sheets daily. She would smooth their foreheads with her cool hand. She would bring them whatever they needed. She would take it out of her own savings, and became one of the best loved nurses in the general hospital. She was so humble and so sweet. I once said to her, Joan, you must be a very highly evolved soul. She said, no, Lynn, no, please don't talk like this. She said, I have got so much work to do on my ego. I am nowhere near being self-realized. She said, this is my karma to stay here for the rest of my life and serve my beloved Bhagwan. After the super hospital was started, Swami then, a few years later, appointed her to serve in his super hospital. And again, she was known for her loving care of even the sickest and most desperate patients, loving them like a mother, taking care of their every need, changing their bed sheet, bringing them cool drinks, whatever was required for their comfort and consolation. She would sing bhajans. She would take money from her savings. She had some savings to live off of due to the inheritance that her husband had left her back in Australia. And of course, she had to return to Australia every 5 years to get her visa renewed to go back and serve in the hospital. This was standard practice for foreigners who were living in the ashram and serving. They still had to keep their Indian visa up to date and their passport. As her time of retirement drew near, she was eligible to receive the Australian pension. But to do that, she would have to be living in Australia and would have to give up, as she explained to me, doing her service for Bhagwan. She was very concerned about this, but Bhagwan called her in for interview and told her, you apply to be an Indian citizen. I will take care of everything. And so, without question, she applied to become an Indian citizen, and she was accepted and given an Indian passport. But here is the great miracle that Swami created for Joan. He arranged it that she still received her Australian pension after age 65, and she received that pension till the very last, not needing to return to Australia, but miraculously Swami pulled the divine strings that she was always taken care of financially, as the Australian pension was more than enough once converted into Indian rupees. See how Swami takes care of his own. As Lord Krishna said, dedicate yourself to me and my service. I will take care of everything. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. तस्मात् कारुण्य भावेन रक्ष रक्ष साईश्वरा. हरि ओम तत्सत् श्री साईश्वरार्पणमस्तु. ओम शांति शांति शांति.